Hi, hello, and welcome. This is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and we are in week 3 of the 11-11 Club. And wow, what a great start that we've had so far. And I just have to start off by saying how proud I am of you for starting this journey and your commitment to your success. For a lot of people, starting a new thing is super exciting. There's that high, right? And you get all the big ideas, and you go, "Wow, what if I could do that?" And we get command, and we get that, start commanding, and we get that kind of theta drunk, right? We're in this like infinite possibility, and then we sit down and we start actually doing the steps, and that little resistance, that fear, the self doubt start showing up, and I want to address that. In fact, this is probably the perfect continuation from the call last week. And in fact, I have to be so, I have to say that last week something happened with the recording. I'm sure it was operator error or something in the ether, the ethers didn't allow it to happen. But there was this great question about, you know, when does fear go away? We're going to talk about that. And we talked about some of the things, and there was a really interesting idea that came in from that. And I'm going to be sharing that. I'm going to be going back over that briefly. But another thing had happened, and it's kind of a common theme that I'm noticing in the conversations with the members, and it has to do with I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I really want to do this. I've never done it before, or I did it in the past, or I tried in the past and I failed. I did it in the past. I had a success, but then a terrible thing happened. Or, hey, I've never ever done this in my life at all, and I'm totally overwhelmed. And I'm just so afraid. I'm just so afraid, and maybe really I don't trust myself to make this happen. And it always comes back to like we have this kind of big fear explosion, but on the underneath side is this idea about trust. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit. But let me get to the sheet that's also included in the handouts. And I'm just going to let you know kind of where we're going today. And the question that triggered all of this was Deborah's question. And it was when will the fear subside when you decide to fulfill a goal or do something new? And I have to already do a correction on that because that is Deborah. Pardon me, Deborah. Thank you so much for bringing it. And, we have to understand that fear is absolutely part of the process. You're already different than the people that you grew up with that you're around, right? You already know that you want something that's different than everyone else. And so that already creates this level of tension within you. And in our tribal thinking, our beautiful amygdala, and the whole way that we are set up is to not go beyond what is the familiar into that outer realm to where the danger is. And the danger is out in the unknown, it's out beyond our tribe. And strangers are certainly included in that. And anytime we start confronting, we start moving forward and moving away from our tribal beliefs, moving away from our habits, moving out of our comfort zone, we are always going to meet fear. Okay, every single time. Even if you're really excited and you want to run out there and you want to go for it, then the first thing that happens is your neurology and your environment literally will start rising up and creating opposition. Okay, now it's not because your unconscious mind and your family and friends or your loved ones, your environment doesn't want you to be happy. It doesn't want you to be successful and have everything that you ever hoped, desired, or dreamed for. It just wants you to do it here in a way that's comfortable and familiar. That's all. And the dream's out there. I think the best movie that ever really demonstrated how fear shows up and what that resistance and what you really have to overcome is, and what you go through and what you overcome is the Pixar or Disney movie Rapunzel. And of course, I have grandgirls. I get to watch a lot of these movies. But if you have not got to watch it, please be sure and watch it, because the character Rapunzel, she's the princess that was stolen away by the evil witch, and she's living in the tower. Remember the story? And then she has this desire. There's something always nagging at her. It's pulling. She's very expressive. She's young. She's energetic. That's her nature. But then there's something else that's kind of pulling her, and she has this other desire. And her evil stepmother says all the things that we might say to ourselves. Well, of course, you could have whatever you want, but that's too dangerous. You're here for a good reason, or you can't be trusted, or the world's too big for you, or why would you want to go out there when you have everything you need here, right? And I remember when I was leaving Dallas to go to join Nassara Lovejoy in the Commanding Wealth program, and I had a beautiful friend who said, "You have everything you've ever wanted here. You have got friends, you've got success." You've got a beautiful home. People like you. You just have it all. Why would you want to leave it? And she really didn't want me to leave her. And I was like, I didn't want to leave her either. I really loved her. She was a really sweet, dear friend. But there was something inside of me that was greater, and I knew I had a dissatisfaction and how I had things set up, and I knew that the key to that was to go work with Asara and bring this program to the world. It spoke to something really powerful in my heart. And even with having a lot of love and support, a lot of encouragement, a big vision to go to, I had to overcome a lot of inner resistance. I sang a song, Do I Believe, to myself. I wrote this whole song on the road, which I'm not going to subject you to hearing. But I had to go through a lot of mental preparation. And then even once I got there, my body revolted. I felt kind of stubborn. I got into some bad behavior, kind of. And it's like, what was it? It was fear and lack of trust. And so I've had to personally deal with that so many times. And anytime I've ever had to, anytime I ever wanted to go further, I always met a new level of resistance. And that resistance always involved trust. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that because this word comes up a lot. But back to the movie, when Rapunzel really finally gets to bust out of the tower, and first she's so happy and elated, and then she's terrified, and then she feels guilty, and then she's running around super excited, and then she thinks, well, maybe this was cool today, but maybe she needs to go back to the tower and think more about what her actual plans are, right? And then just kind of all that whole back and forth. And then finally she makes the decision to keep moving forward, okay? And every one of us go through this. Now, we know about this tribal, right? We know about how our energy field kind of gets set up, but we don't necessarily think about how we react to it. Here is a little missing piece of information. Our habits of thought and the habits that we set up in our daily lives, right? This gets set up as a neural pattern in our lives. And we have throughout the day, through different circumstances, we have things set up in a way that allow us to get what we could call our dopamine hit that makes us feel good. Okay. Now, if we were dealing with, let's say, an addict, and I could even talk about someone who's, hey, I'm a big believer in miracles. And in order to be an overcomer in miracles, what do you have to have? You have to have something to overcome. If you're a drug addict and you're used to kind of setting this up, that the way that you initially started taking drugs was because you were angry and depressed and you just wanted to feel better. Then, and there'd been a big fight with your family. This isn't any of you, but just listen to how the pattern goes. Then that got you to your drug, and then you felt better. But then guess what happened? You kept taking the drugs, then it didn't work. Everything collapsed. You had to go back and get forgiveness. And there was all this love and hope. And that just felt so good, because that was the thing you needed from your family before you started the drugs. Okay. But people who are doing this, they don't know how to actually set themselves up to keep receiving that love and support, and how to grow through and how to manage conflict and expectations. There's a place where they're stuck. They don't know what they don't know. So they start unconsciously repeating this whole pattern. And part of it is they may repeat the pattern of a big fight or an upset. That way that gives them the excuse to go drink or drug. If you've ever dealt with an addict, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Then they go get their drink, they go get their drunk, and then they go overboard, and then they come back to whoever their nurturer is, to get them to fix it better, to get the forgiveness so they can get right, so they can try again. And then they don't understand what they're actually chasing. They think they're chasing the alcohol or the drug. They're actually chasing that nurturing and acceptance. I know, right? And you go, but I'm giving them the love. I'm giving them the acceptance. Well, what they don't have is their missing piece is they don't know how to create love and acceptance within themselves. They don't know how to take control of that. Well, we're all addicts for something to some degree. And if we break our pattern, we will go into bad behavior to try to get back to that feeling of a good, of safety and being nurtured, of being encouraged. It's all right. You don't have to do anything. Just be you, right? And I love you just the way you are. You're my good girl. It's okay. I was like, and we really don't want that. When we say that out loud, it sounds horrible, really, if you think about it. But then there's that part of you is like, yeah. So we don't know how to create that. Okay. We haven't been trained for it. Well, we're going to talk about how we can create that. Okay. So we're not going to go too far down that, because that is a deeper teaching. I want to bring you back to this core piece about trust, and how can we neutralize these feelings of fear and discomfort. Okay, we're going to go into that and how to manage that. All right, so unless we are moving forward, we'll never hit the fear. Right? If you are never fearful, never notice, there's never, nervous, any resistance, any upset, then you aren't doing anything. So if you have run up against fear, this is actually a good sign. Crazy, right? But it's true that if you run up against your fear, it's absolutely a very good sign. All of a sudden, I realize I wanted to double check on my audio. There we go, because I did a whole teaching that there was no video, and I got this little message. So thank you very much. So if you've run up against that, that's a sign you've moved forward. If you have not hit resistance, if you have not hit anxiety, then you aren't moving forward. So bless it. Just go, oh yeah, I'm in the right place. So when you hit that fear, just take a big breath and go, okay, I'm in the right place. Okay. Fear only arrives in the face of courage. Okay. And it can only meet that, which means that, and the opposite is true. Your courage can only arise in the face of fear. So, to the degree that you're afraid, you also have the capacity to overcome it. Okay, you even actually have a greater capacity to overcome it. But sometimes, we treat this fear like it's some kind of monster that we're supposed to slay, but it's a message from your unconscious mind. Okay, so what is it we actually fear? Well, heck, we fear the unknown. Number one, we fear the unknown, but you need to understand that we are always creating from the unknown. Number one, we can only fully understand our circumstances by looking at it through hindsight. When you're right in the middle of it, you can't really understand or know everything about your current situation because you're looking at it through the lens of someone who is unaware, who's partially unconscious. Okay, you can't know. And all you do know is what you're feeling, and you're knowing the reactions, you're knowing what's outside of yourselves. We can have a good idea about what's going on, like the reality is, like if you don't start working today and making some money, you're not going to have money, right? But unless you shift your state of being, you won't start doing what's necessary to make that money. So if you're in that wrong state of being, how can you make the shift? Well, we don't know. So a great question to ask is this: what do I need to think about, tell myself, or remember? What do I need to think about, tell myself, or remember in order to change? What do I need to think about, tell myself, or remember in order to change? What do I need to think about?